I did a solo EP called The Context that I was writing while leaving, like a transitional thing. And then I recorded an album, my first kind of real solo thing called Songs of Bo Redoubt in 2005, 2006. And that's really, really an XJW album. It's like pure XJW album. Called Louder Longer Lobster by Trumpet Marine, which is my first RPM album. Those two are pretty much like bookends to each other. That's my XJW. That's my Leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses experience. If you want to hear it all in music, just listen to The Context, Bo Redoubt, Louder Longer Lobster. And you'll hear everything from me sort of dealing with the negativity and doubt all the way through the song Patterns Imprinted on Stars. That is all basically a 2-minute theological fairy tale that encompasses my entire philosophy of life. And then after that, everything's just been fucking around.
My life is so much more rewarding, so much more freeing. I miss my little community. I even miss feeling like there was a God that always knew how sincere I was. I kind of miss that. But wanting it doesn't make it so.
I want to say to anyone who is going through this experience or has gone through that experience that, like, yo, me too. Like, this, it sucks. It's super hard and scary, and there's a lot of difficult things that come along with it. But it's also okay to, like, really enjoy it too, because leaving that gives you this incredible thing that's simultaneously the most exciting thing in the world and the most terrifying thing in the world, which is absolute possibility. Like, you're no longer yoked into this limited worldview. Everything is possible, which means lots of bad stuff can happen that you never anticipated, but it also means that you can now do anything you want. You're free. It takes a while to dismantle that framework that's been built around you.
For 2 years, I blogged very heavily. I had a disclaimer on the blog that said, don't read this if you don't want to know. Not one witness I knew ever told me they were reading it, but they were. These people were reading my blog secretly, and they couldn't admit it to each other that they were doing it. James Zimmerman, the guy who originally said the thing about the ark that blew my brain up, right? At my brother's funeral, he shunned me. We had known each other since we were little kids. I walked up to him and I gave him a hug, and he didn't say a word. And a year later, he calls me up and he's like, when we were hugging at Rhett's funeral, I wanted to whisper in your ear and tell you I know you're right. But he couldn't tell anybody. He was closeted ex-witness. His wife has said they totally rejected me, but they've also read what I wrote, and they also thought about what happened to me. I mean, I never went out and, like, got anybody to come out, but, like, I've received a phone call 6, 8 times, like, from just a person who I knew who called me and said, so when I went through my dark time, I thought of all the stuff you wrote that I read that I wasn't supposed to read. And then I said, okay, I'm not doing it.
I can't look on people who are still witnesses and be angry with them necessarily. How could I do that without looking at myself when I was 23? I'd have to look at that same guy and be like, oh, what an asshole. It's like, no, that guy was trying really hard to do the right thing. He was knocking on a lot of doors, telling people some very bad ideas that could have been very dangerous, and maybe were. I have no idea how many people I preached to, like, were like, what about that magazine? And it, like, changed their life for the worse. But that guy was trying. So I can't like moralize that dude without impugning myself. And so you just extend that same view to everyone else. When I see some idiot saying some stupid racist thing on the news, I go like, I don't like the racist thing, but that person's just scared. They're scared of these people that look different. And if they got to know those people, it'd probably be fine. But they get this identity wrapped up in it, and for some reason they can't get past the fact that these people are from another country, and it's very threatening to them. But give them the right conversation, it could be over in a day. You know, and just as much of that as you can do.
Honestly, I do believe witnesses truly love each other. Because I did. And nobody's going to fake that much. But I think that they only love each other. I think they're afraid of everything else. If you love somebody, you're willing to take a risk to be closer to them. You love a child. That's risky. Your kid could die, could turn against you. Raising a teenager, which I've done, it's hard. But because you love that person, you accept that risk and you embrace it and you deal with it. And if it hurts, it's fine. It changes nothing. But if you're afraid of somebody, you can't do love at the same time. In some theoretical sense, you still, like, I'm sure my dad still feels like he loves me. Right? But he's afraid of me. He's afraid I'm going to say something that will injure his belief system. Or he's afraid that being close to me will in some way violate his relationship with his God. Or in some way, it's a selfish thing, and love's not selfish. Right? Like, it's selfish to be like, my fear of my own faith continuity or whatever is enough to stop me from embracing this person.
The philosophy that I try to live by is to do no harm. To be the best person that I can be with what I think is like morally right. You know, I try to do my best. And I guess that's my motto. I do the best I can, and that's all I can do, you know. Like when I was first leaving the witnesses, like I put on MySpace at the time, like I am my own God. And that's one thing I realized was if I want anything to change, if I want things to be better, if I want to feel happy, it's all coming from me. There's no other force that's going to do it. And so I am my own God.